Project management, what we're trying to do here is project management using a software. So project management is the application of knowledge, skill, tools, and techniques to project activities in order to meet the necessary requirement. Okay, that is just what the project is. The skills you have, is the skills you have that are used to manage your life, right? Okay, or is the skill you have that are used to manage a particular office you are running or managing your family. Okay, so as far as you are managing anything, you are a project manager. Now, a lot of people or a lot of persons enormously believe that Microsoft Project is a project management. No, Microsoft Project, what we are going to teach you now, is not a project management. It's a tools that are used for your project management function. So if you know Microsoft Project, that does not make you a professional project manager. Or if you don't know Microsoft Project, it does not make you, and then you study project or you are a project manager, does not make you not to qualify as a project manager. But these are skills that help you to actually do your work fast, as much as possible, and then as easy as possible. Okay, so these are what you want to actually learn in this workshop. Okay, there are 5 processes involved in project management. This includes initiating, okay, planning, executing, monitoring, and controlling, and then we have closing of the project. So every project have this stage. You need to initialize the project, and then after initialize it, you need to plan, which is the main aspect that we are going to focus in on here. Planning, scheduling, okay. We are going to focus more on planning of projects, okay. So you need to initiate the project, and then you plan that project, and then you execute it. Okay, and then the process of you executing the project, you can as well track the progress of the job. Well, you can track the progress of that project using the same software that we're going to learn. Okay, and at the same time, the help of the tracking can be able to help you to monitor and control the process. Now, so that you can be able to work within a particular duration that will be given to you. Please mute yourself so that you not your background noise will not disturb us. Please mute yourself. All right. So we have some limitations that the software that we are going to learn have. Okay, because as I said, this is a software, it's not a project manager. Okay, so there are some things that this particular software cannot do for you. Okay, it cannot create a task for you. Every project have a task. Okay, every project have a particular task that, or a sequence of tasks that is going to be carried out in that project. Okay, so this MS project or Microsoft project cannot create a task for you. You are the one that will create the task for yourself. Okay, it cannot create a logical relation. What do you mean by logical relation? In terms of a sequence, let's assume in construction, you say, okay, you cannot say you want to come and do excavation of a particular place before you do site clearance. Or you cannot say you want to do blinding before excavation. Okay, so it is expected as a construction professional, you need to actually do site clearance before you talk about setting out, or talk about excavation, or talk about blinding and all that, based on the sequence of construction that you are following. It's the same thing applied to any other field. Even when you are managing an event, okay, you cannot say, okay, they should do a closing prayer before the opening prayer. Let me just use that. Or if you are cooking a food, it's a project. If you are cooking, you cannot say you need to, I don't know which scenario I'll use, but you know that the sequence of every of those activities, okay, like you need to light your stove or whatever you are, or your gas, whatever you are using for the cooking, which is actually the first approach, or you need to cut cut your onions or whatever that you want to do, understand? So it has a sequence. Okay, so these are logical relations in a project. So every project has a relations, and then there are some projects that can go concurrently. So if your relation in organizing those relationships, you can be able to actually form which one can go concurrently, which one can go after this, you understand? So that makes you to actually carry out a successful schedule of a particular task. It refers to any kind of project. Let's assume you have a particular project that you are doing. What you need to do is to understand the sequence, what and what need to be done. Okay, and then you now create those relationships before you do the schedule. So the software cannot create a relationship for you. Okay, it does not know the duration of the task. You understand? Which is one of the major thing that we need to consider here in this project management approach. Because you must understand the project before you know the duration at which that project will take. Okay, for example, if you don't know anything about how, let's say, cooking, you don't know how to cook a particular meal, you don't have any idea of how to cook it, and you don't have experience of being in a place where they have cooked those meals, you will not be able to actually say that, okay, this will take 1 month, or it will take one minute or 1 second to actually prepare. The same thing applies to construction. The same thing applies to any other field. Okay, if you don't have experience of where they have done excavation, you will not kind of know the duration where it will take for a total number of people to excavate a foundation for 3-bedroom flat or for 4-bedroom flat. So experience matters in terms of duration. Okay, because there's no automatic programming or any software that you can say, okay, excavation of so, and then it tell you that it will take 3 days, it will take so days, you understand? It is not going to be like that because every site has different conditions, okay? So if excavation of 2-bedroom flat take so minutes or so days in a particular location, it will not be the same in another locations, right? And then depend on the kind of the machinery that they are using or the labor that they are using. Okay, so the software cannot determine the duration of the task for you. You need to have a good experience of that particular project to be able to estimate the task or the duration of the task. Okay, it does not know the resources that you are going to use. Every project has the resources, either material resources or human resources. Okay, it will not tell you that you must use this particular thing to do this particular project. No, you are the one that will going to specify, okay, this excavation of so thing or site clearance of so thing, this particular machine should be used, or this particular engineer should be responsible for executing those particular tasks. So as a project manager, you schedule and then you assign those resources. You understand? So that you know which particular thing that need to be done, and then which particular machines or particular resources that need to be made available for that particular task to be done. Okay. It does not know the resources necessary to execute a particular task, right? It does not know the cost of performing the task. Okay. The software did not know how much it will take for you to do that, to carry out any particular task. Okay. Everything done on Microsoft projects will revolve around the following tasks. I've been talking about tasks, resources. The task is what exactly you are going to be doing. What exactly are you going to do to execute? What and what are you supposed to do to execute that particular project? And then the resources, what and what do you need to actually execute that project? And then the duration. What is the duration? How long will it take you to actually execute that project? Okay, all these things are what project management using MS Project is all about. We're going to talk about tasks, resources, and the duration. Okay, all right. So now we talk about tasks. Tasks are work that needed to be done for a successful completion of a project. Okay, that is a task. The task to be entered for creating a schedule or determined by a project requirement. It is measured in hours or other unit of time. Example of tasks include, for example, now when you are preparing architectural design, you need an approved plan. Then we talk about demolition, we talk about site clearance, we talk about block wall, we talk about status meetings, you understand? All those things involved when you talk about architectural design or building related project. And then we have quality and auditing. and many other tax. So these are different tax. So depend for our surveyors, let's assume you want to carry out beaconing. Let's assume you get a layout that you need to beacon, like you are given a responsibility or a contract to move beacon for a particular layout. You need to estimate how long will it take for possible excavation, or how long will it take for so number of people to actually bury so number of beacons. So depend on the kind of project you have, okay? So all those things can be applied. So it's just for you to think of the possible ways where you can apply project management in your tax or your project, okay? We have type of tax. We have fixed duration tax, we have fixed unit tax, and then we have fixed work. Okay, as the name suggests, when a tax is scheduled for fixed duration, as the name suggests, when a tax is scheduled as a fixed duration, the value of the units and the work adjust to balance up with the scheduling formula. For example, now, the duration of this particular tax is fixed. You are given a contract, and then the client says, you need this project, let's say the maximum time, you need this project by 3 months. Okay, so the costs, the units, the cost, the materials, the resources, everything will be adjusted to make sure that you meet with the duration. So what you need to do at this point now, that is to say, you need to employ more laborers, you need to employ more resources, you need to do more things, both material resources, to actually achieve this duration, because the duration is fixed. Okay, and then we have another one. We talk about fixed units. Now, this type of tax now, a particular unit or a particular materials has been fixed that you are going to use so amount or so resources to finish this project. So it's less for you if you know that you don't have enough money and you have a fixed amount already. If you don't have enough money to do it, then you know how you can be using one person to actually do the job, so that you see that it will reduce the cost, or you look for any other means to make sure that the cost reduce. So at this point now, the duration did not matter. What matters is the cost. They have already given you that, okay, you are going to use so amount to finish this project. So you can adjust any other aspect to make sure that it fits to that particular unit that is given to you. Then we have a fixed work. Okay, when a fixed work is scheduled to perform, the duration and the units are also adjusted. So for example, now we have a fixed work. For example, your work is to build a house to maybe a roofing level. That is your task. Does not give you a duration, does not give you, does not specify the duration or specify the cost. So the main task is for you to build that particular project to a particular stage, okay, which is a fixed work. Okay, then we have duration of the task. I've been mentioning duration. It is the time needed to complete a particular task. It is measured in a day, measured in days, minutes, hours, seconds, depend on what particular project you are doing. Let's assume you are cooking a food. You cannot say you want to do the program based on days, or let's assume you are managing a particular event. Okay, and then you are doing a schedule for that particular event. You don't need to do it based on months or based on days. That time is going to be based on minutes and based on hours. And then this particular software we are talking about will give you all the provisions where you can do your schedule based on minutes, based on months, based on days. You understand? So you depend on the kind of project that you are handling. Then we talk about resources. I've mentioned resources already. They are used to carry out the tasks. These are what is required for you to carry out the task. Think of resources as a craftsman, equipment, and other things that assist in performing your tasks on site. Okay, for you, anything that is required, that is needed for you to do your work is the resources. Okay, another term that we need to understand here is the critical part. Okay, critical part is one of the project management terminology. Okay. Okay. Critical part shows the earliest and the latest time/date a project can take and end. It is the longest duration in a project. Now, I want you to take note of this. Now, when you are preparing a schedule, or you are preparing a program of work, any project that is referred as a critical part must not be delayed. Okay, even in the site, because it's the longest duration of the project, which any adjustment or any delay to that particular project, it will definitely affect the entire duration for that particular project. So at that point, a critical path project is a project that takes the longest, or is a task that takes the longest duration in the whole process of that particular project. I don't know if you understand me. If you don't understand, you can put down your question and then you ask at the end of this presentation. Okay, and then we talk about milestone. Okay, milestone is an event marking the completion of one or more tasks. It has a zero duration. Okay, for example, let's assume you have a project to build. Let's assume you have a project to build in a river. Okay, and then that is to say you need to actually carry out your excavation. Maybe you are doing a pile foundation or whatever type of construction you are doing. Now, achieving your foundation, you understand, carrying out your foundation to the end, or achieving your foundation is one, can be your milestone. Okay, or if you, let's assume you are doing something and then let's say it's required for you to, maybe it's the renovation you are doing. Maybe when you do the plastering, do the whole plastering, it might be your milestone. You see it as if you have achieved one major task. Okay. For example, if you watch the video of this Burj of Arab during the construction of that hotel, in fact, when there's a particular frame or trusses they use in holding that building from ground to the up to that number of stories that structure is. Now, in fact, the time that they are transporting that material or that trusses or that iron from the factory to the site, every other traffic has to hold. Like they have to stop every other movement of every other vehicles, because the vehicle that is used to transport that iron is very, very long. Okay, and when they successfully install that particular truss or trusses or that iron or that steel, they tag it as one of their milestones. So after each of the milestones, as a project manager, you actually need to do what they call incentive, possibly incentive or a kind of celebration, a kind of appraisal to your workers to show, okay, yeah, we have achieved this. Thank you guys for doing that and all those kind of things. Okay, so these are what the milestones is all about. Okay, so depend on the kind of project that you are doing. Let's assume you are cooking, and maybe your own is like, maybe you don't like frying things, and then you maybe because of the splashing of hot oil, and then when you successfully fry that particular onions or fry that particular meat, it's actually your milestone. You feel like, yes, I've finished it, I've done this, you understand? So all those things can be your milestone. You are doing an event, you do a particular task that you feel that, okay, maybe after the event have gone to a particular stage, you feel relaxed, okay, yes, we have achieved a certain level. Okay, so this is what we refer to as milestone. Okay, and then the process for creating a schedule, what and what really, because you agree with me that the whole of this workshop is about creating a schedule, program of work, using that tool to create a schedule. Okay, now you need to collect the requirements. What and what is in need for this particular project? You need to know it. So as a project manager, you actually need to know what and what is required for a particular project before you can produce a schedule for it. Then you need to create what we call work breakdown structure, WBS. Work breakdown structure is the breakdown of every project into smaller stage. For example, in project, we have, let's assume we have maybe during your breakdown of one of your stage of tasks, you now refer to as substructure. Let's assume we say substructure. Now, substructure can also be break down into different other stages. And then we'll talk about foundation. Even foundation itself can also be break down into different stages. And then we talk about blinding, which is part of the foundation, which blinding can also be break down into different stages, into different levels of stages. For example, you actually need to mix your concrete, somebody need to pack it, and you understand. So all those things are tasks. So depend on the level at which you break your tasks is the work breakdown structure. Then we need to create, after you do your work breakdown structure, you need to create what we call activity lists. Okay, from your work breakdown structure, you need to create activity lists. That is what and what you need to be done now, what you now list them down. Okay, and then we talk about the you need to estimate the duration of the project. Okay, which you have talked about duration. You need to have a good experience before you can estimate the duration of any project. Then we have the sequence activities, creating network diagram. For example, now we'll talk about logical relation of a particular task. You need to create sequence. There's something they call sequence of construction, right? What and what is required and at what stages, okay, in terms of construction or sequence of projects, okay? Then we talk about estimates, resources equipment, resources requirements, okay? And then you need to develop the schedule. Okay, after you've done all those things, you now develop your schedule and then you now set the baseline. Okay, I'm going to explain more of that. Collecting requirement is the stage where you collect the necessary information, document any other thing needed for creating that schedule. That's what is required. And then we'll talk about work breakdown structure, WBS. You create WBS to realize the work into a manageable chunk that can be accurately estimated, okay, executed or outsourced. So for example, if you say maybe in your schedule, you say, okay, substructure as one of the tasks, you know it will be difficult for you to actually prepare a bill for the whole substructure, okay? Or say you are doing the substructure as a task. So you need to break substructure down into different clearance, excavation and all that. Even if excavation itself can also be breakdown, even blinding can also be breakdown. So this is what is required as WBS, work breakdown structures. Then from the WBS, we will now create and extract the various activities that is needed to carry out, which is the activity list, okay? And then you estimate the duration, okay? Sequence activities, create network, arrange the activities on how they will carry out. Example, after setting out, then we'll go to excavation. This is what we call logical relation or sequence. Then we have estimate the work and the materials resources needed for completion of each task. Then develop schedule, which is what we're going to be doing. This means everything needed to be done to develop the schedule is brought into realistic and approved and formal. Work through the schedule to discover other ways of making the schedule better. You could decide to fast track or crash some tasks, okay? Some tasks that are not required, or the tasks that you think that you can be able to, sideline can be used. You can actually reduce it so that at least your schedule will meet up with the duration that is required. Okay. Then we have this set the baseline. Set the baseline now. After working through your schedule, set a baseline. It is against this baseline that actual work on site is being measured. Okay, this baseline now will help you to actually track the progress of your project. Okay, so these are some of the things, some of the terminology that you need to know for project management before we can go to the software itself. Okay, is there any question? Is there any confusion concerning this presentation? Before the next session we'll go straight to the software, where we'll be explaining a few things about the software. Is there any question?
Can you come again on that estimate resource requirements?
Estimates Estimate resource requirements. Yes, estimate the resources that is required for that particular job. Did you understand? You need to estimate.
Hello, sir.
Yes, yes. I'm hearing you.
Can you come again, sir, on that number 6, estimate resource requirements, sir?
Okay, okay. Are you hearing me now? Are you hearing me? Okay, now we are talking about the process that is required for you to create a schedule. Okay, now we talk about before we prepare a schedule, you need to collect requirements, you need to collect requirements, you need to create work breakdown structures, create activity list, estimate duration, and then you talk about the sequence. Then this particular number 6 now, we say that you should estimate the resources that is required for that particular project. Do you understand? Because in your schedule, you need to actually assign the resources, right? You need to assign the resources to your schedule. So you need to estimate that resources. Did you understand? So that's what it meant by estimate
Yes,
resources.
sir, I understand.
Okay. So that is what it meant by estimate resources. Okay, okay. All right. Is there any other question? Because we'll come to the end of 40 minutes.